everybody, I'm Florence Henderson.
I'm Rachel Goggles, and today we're going to get out of the dark and uncover the secrets of sleep.
If you have problems sleeping, you're not alone. 40 million Americans have sleep disorders, and it's making them chronically ill.
Snoring is a huge problem for many people, and while men out-snore women by 3 to 1, plenty of women are losing sleep from snoring too.
I'm a friend of Vicki Miller's. We've worked together for almost 4 years now. I know she has had a problem with snoring that has affected her health, and I would like to nominate her for a Speaking of Women's Health makeover.
39-year-old Vicki Miller's problem is that she snores. Vicki wants her snoring to stop, and so does her family.
I think it would have a strong impact on my life if I wasn't snoring.
So we're giving her a makeover for life.
I've been snoring pretty much most of my life. I would wake myself up as a younger child and from a snort and kind of startle and say, what was that? It didn't really start bothering me or my husband until I got pregnant with my first child.
For Vicki's snoring makeover, we took her to see Marc Kerner, a snoring specialist.
Well, severe snoring is actually fairly common in the population. We think that the incidence of snoring is probably as high as 10 to 15%, and really all snoring is a loud noise that occurs during sleep time, which is a response to the soft tissues in the throat collapsing, and as we breathe in air, there's a negative pressure that causes those tissues to vibrate.
It's amazing how many people do snore, and it's always the ladies who are more embarrassed about it.
Dr. Kerner sends Vicki to a sleep lab. She'll spend the night attached to electrodes for every snore, recorded for posterity.
The first thing is to determine where the snoring is coming from. Sometimes a blockage in the nose, whether it's from an old nasal fracture or a polyp, or sometimes big tonsils will do that. And other times we can have tonsil tissue in the back of our throat. You can actually develop snoring because of the tongue collapsing during sleep as well. So it all depends on the anatomy.
In some cases, snoring is a symptom of a dangerous condition called sleep apnea.
The definition that we use for sleep apnea is when a person tries to take a breath while they're sleeping, there's actual cessation of airflow for greater than 10 seconds. People that have sleep apnea and who snore have a much higher incidence of cardiac problems, including high blood pressure, stroke, and cardiac arrhythmias or irregular heartbeats.
Once the test results are in, the diagnosis is clear. Vicki does indeed suffer from sleep apnea.
Vicki's snoring is a combination of obstruction that occurs in 2 levels of her airway, one at the level of the palate, also at the level of the tongue as well. So we're going to need to address both of those areas.
That's the bad news. Here's the good news.
Her level of her sleep apnea is not so severe that she wouldn't be a good candidate for surgery. The likelihood of you being completely cured of your snoring is in the high 80% range.
The actual diagnosis of sleep apnea doesn't make me real nervous, only because my family has had similar diagnosis, and so I've seen the process that they've gone through. It's a little bothersome in the fact that I'm going to have to go through surgery.
When we come back, we'll find out if Vicki's surgery worked and if she can finally catch some Z's. Snoring can be an indication of a serious health problem, like heart disease, particularly if you're overweight. If so, contact your doctor.
Snoring was also a pretty major issue for our makeover candidate, Vicki. Let's see how she's doing in part 2 of our Makeover for Life. All her life, Vicki Miller has been sleeping up a storm. At least that's what it sounds like to her family. The problem reached its height during her pregnancy.
The most embarrassing thing probably was my husband recording me. It was just like, why'd you do that? I already know I snore. I don't need to hear it. Well, I want you to hear how loud it is.
Now we're going to cure Vicki's snore with a makeover for life. Dr. Marc Kerner diagnosed Vicki as having sleep apnea, a condition that interrupts normal breathing during sleep.
Snoring primarily occurs because of the excess tissue in the soft palate area. Vicki is having trouble with obstruction of the upper airway. So what we're going to do is remove some excess tissue in the soft palate, and that's this tissue right here.
I'm a little nervous about my surgery today. The more it's come time to get close to the hospital and stuff, it's got a little bit of the butterflies going on.
But in recent years, surgery to treat snoring has become more common and more advanced.
going to deliver radio frequency energy to the back of the tongue, which then results in some scar tissue, which then basically tightens the tongue. And the tongue really is more responsible for the apnea. When the tongue falls back at night, when we're sleeping, in her case then, it'll fall back less. It'll actually be tightened. So the concept here is we need to tighten tissue and actually remove excess tissue.
I really hope this works, that the surgery is a success. I'm looking really forward to having a much improved lifestyle.
So how are you feeling? Everything went really well, went perfect, just better than expected. And I think you'll have a couple days of discomfort. How bad is it now? Not bad at all right now.
A little sore. Not as bad as I expected, really.
The procedure requires about 5 to 7 days for recovery. The palate procedure is the most painful of the two procedures, but most people tolerate that fairly well.
Other than a limited diet to allow healing, there are few post-op restrictions. A week later, Vicky is almost back to normal.
Yeah, it's actually still healing. We're probably a day or two away from that being totally healed, and over the next 2 to 3 weeks, everything should be right back to normal, and you can be on a regular diet now. So
Wonderful. I'm starved.
good.
But how is Vicky snoring?
I feel that I've already received significant increase in my sleep patterns and being able to sleep through the night, and I feel much more rested in the morning, so I'm really excited that it's just going to continue to get better from here.
In general, snoring isn't something that diminishes with time. Nearly 1/3 of the population over 30 snores. Past age 40, that rises to 40%. But Vicky's snoring makeover has brought peace and quiet to her house and let everyone get a good night's sleep.
My kids, they're sleeping better. My husband's sleeping better, so it's much nicer.
As they say, silence is golden.